Tonight we begin with a breaking story that is nothing short of historic. The Supreme Court of the United States has delivered a ruling that strikes at the very heart of presidential power. In a 6-3 decision, the justices declared that President Trump's sweeping global tariffs, a cornerstone of his second-term economic agenda, are unconstitutional. This decision is not simply about trade. It is about the limits of executive authority and the balance of power in American democracy. The shockwaves from this ruling are already being felt. Wall Street is reacting with volatility. Congress is scrambling to assert control. And America's trading partners are recalibrating their strategies in light of a seismic shift in U.S. economic policy. What is at stake here is nothing less than the question of who holds the real power to shape America's economic future, the president or Congress. For years, tariffs have been at the center of Trump's economic vision. His administration argued they were essential to protecting American industries and securing leverage in international negotiations. The legal justification rested on the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977, or IEPA. That law, originally designed for targeted sanctions during emergencies, became the White House's tool for sweeping tariffs across entire sectors of the global economy. Critics immediately pushed back, arguing IEPA was never intended to grant one person the authority to restructure global trade. The Constitution clearly places the power to tax and regulate commerce in Congress's hands. The battle lines were drawn, and lawsuits poured in from businesses, trade associations, and legal scholars who saw the tariffs as a dangerous overreach. Over 300 lawsuits challenged the tariffs in federal courts. The plaintiffs argued that the president's actions set a precedent for unchecked executive power. The administration countered that economic imbalances were a national emergency, justifying the use of IEPA. This legal tug-of-war set the stage for a Supreme Court showdown unlike any in recent memory. The U.S. Court of International Trade was the first to weigh in, siding with the plaintiffs and blocking the tariffs, but the government appealed, and the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that while the tariffs were illegal, they would remain in place during further litigation. This created an extraordinary legal limbo, tariffs declared unlawful yet enforced at America's borders. Businesses and consumers were left in a state of confusion, navigating higher costs without clarity on the future. The Supreme Court agreed to hear the case on an expedited basis, recognizing its national importance. The core question before the justices was direct. Did IEPA grant the president authority to impose global tariffs by declaring an economic emergency? During oral arguments, justices from both sides of the ideological spectrum pressed the administration. Chief Justice Roberts asked whether any economic problem could be framed as an emergency, effectively granting the president unlimited tariff authority. The skepticism was clear. Today, the court delivered its verdict. By a 6-3 margin, the justices ruled that IEPA does not authorize the president to impose sweeping tariffs. Chief Justice Roberts, writing for the majority, stated that such actions require explicit congressional authorization. The court emphasized the major questions doctrine, underscoring that vast economic policies must come directly from Congress. The dissenting justices argued for deference to the president on foreign policy matters, but the majority prevailed. The immediate impact of this decision is profound. The tariffs are invalidated. Import costs are expected to fall, offering potential relief from inflationary pressures. Global supply chains, long disrupted by tariff uncertainty, may now stabilize. American businesses that rely on imports will benefit, while industries like steel and aluminum face renewed competition from abroad. Internationally, the ruling is being hailed as a game-changing development. Trading partners see it as a step toward restoring predictability in U.S. trade policy. Markets in Asia and Europe rallied on the news, viewing the end of unilateral tariffs as an opening for renewed cooperation. Yet for the White House, this decision is a stinging defeat, stripping the administration of one of its most powerful economic tools. Beyond the economic consequences, this ruling is a political earthquake. For decades, presidents of both parties have expanded executive authority, often bypassing Congress on major issues. Today's decision pushes back, reasserting Congress's constitutional role. The message is unmistakable. On major questions of trade and taxation, the president cannot act alone. This is a direct challenge to President Trump's long-standing belief in a unitary executive. Legal experts are already noting how this precedent could influence other cases involving presidential power. From immigration policy to national security, the ruling sets a boundary that future administrations cannot ignore. Congress now faces a critical test. Lawmakers must decide whether to craft new legislation granting the president limited tariff authority or reclaim trade policy entirely for themselves. This will not be an easy path. Deep divisions within Congress make bipartisan consensus difficult. Yet the responsibility is now theirs. All eyes are on Capitol Hill as lawmakers confront questions they have long avoided. For the American public, the stakes are clear. Lower prices on consumer goods may offer immediate relief. But the larger issue is about accountability and balance of power. This ruling reminds citizens that Congress, not the president, is tasked with making the laws that govern economic policy. It reaffirms the constitutional design of checks and balances. Legal scholars are already calling this a landmark decision. Dan Epps, a prominent professor of constitutional law, noted that the court has drawn a bright line in the sand. Even in foreign affairs, the president must respect the framework established by Congress. Trade expert Jennifer Hillman added that this decision restores predictability and order to U.S. trade relations, something businesses and allies have long demanded. Yet this new reality brings its own challenges. Industries that once enjoyed protection under tariffs must now compete globally without government shields. Congress must balance domestic economic interests with international commitments. And the White House must chart a new economic strategy without unilateral tariff power. The broader message is unmistakable. The Supreme Court has reaffirmed the separation of powers at the very moment when executive authority seemed boundless. The decision underscores that American democracy functions best when power is shared, debated, and checked. This story is not just about tariffs or trade. It is about the future of American governance. The next 48 hours will be critical as Congress, the administration, and international partners respond to this ruling. Will lawmakers seize this moment to craft a sustainable bipartisan strategy? Or will partisan gridlock leave the nation without clear direction on trade? One thing is certain. This decision will be studied for generations. It redefines the balance of power in Washington, reshapes America's global economic posture, and reasserts the enduring strength of the Constitution. This is a turning point in American history. The Supreme Court has spoken, and now the responsibility shifts to Congress and the people. The future of U.S. trade policy, and perhaps the future of executive authority itself, hangs in the balance. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned, because we will continue tracking this unprecedented story and bringing you the analysis you need to understand the decisions shaping our world.